Viola Bennet. Chapter 19. The Lonely Star. The chill of the alpine air no longer cut through her like grief. Instead, it cleared her mind. As Viola walked through the cobbled streets of St. Gallen, the scent of roasted coffee drifted from an open cafe, and the church bells tolled the hour. Each sound and shadow now belonged to her, not as echoes of Javier, Lisa, or Elias, but as part of her own quiet world. The memories had softened into quiet threads, woven into the tapestry of who she had become. She inhaled deeply, her step steady, occupying her space at last, not as an echo of someone else's affection, but as a firm, self-possessed presence. Only when you truly believe in yourself do you cease seeking courage or a spark from others to feel worthy of love. And only then do you turn inward and discover the strength that endures within you. Viola plunged into her academic life with a focus she had never known. Long hours passed beneath the soft hum of library lamps, her notes spreading across wooden tables like cartographic maps of ideas. The completion of 2 demanding degree theses in integrated design and business management became her daily mountain, scaled one careful step at a time, fueled by an inner conviction. Simultaneously, Professor Schmidt's commercial practice project served as her crucible. She pushed timelines, forecasted market reactions, and tested theory against reality. She had never been so absorbed, so singularly focused. Her ability to synthesize abstract concepts into practical solutions sharpened dramatically. She was no longer merely performing, she was mastering her craft. Across the Atlantic, Elias returned to the heartland of American innovation, immediately immersing himself in the development and operations of his sand development. Backed by his uncle's technology group and an external investment group, their sand projects grew fast. Its labs pulsed with the fever of invention. It was a mission focused on 2 key areas: ASAND, Aircraft Pilot System for Autonomous Navigation and Decision-Making, for commercial aircrafts and, most critically, MDSAND, Mars Detection System for Autonomous Navigation and Decision-Making, for Mars Detection. A joint research institute had been swiftly established with Stanford's Autonomous Driving Lab, ADL, anchoring their credibility and attracting top talent. Elias, the core driving force, not only led the R&D team but also successfully petitioned for a direct PhD candidacy at the ADL. But behind every algorithm, Elias hid another sleepless night. He poured his loneliness into lines of code, building a fortress of logic around a heart that still whispered her name. While Viola sought peace in solitude, Elias drowned his silence in code. ASAN's initial success was swift. They secured partnerships with several boutique aircraft customization and retrofitting manufacturers, developing bespoke autonomous navigation and autopilot systems that offered unparalleled reliability. But their ultimate mission remained the MDSAND project, a system designed to empower Mars exploratory missions with intelligent, highly efficient, and autonomous robotic operations. They had won the contract. Elias used the demanding workload to fill every waking moment, a deliberate attempt to build a shield against his deepening loneliness and constant longing. He found not freedom, but merely a shelter from the crushing silence. Viola still met Sean for their sporadic tennis sessions at the university court. The rhythm of their game remained constant, but the subtext of their conversations had fundamentally shifted. The emotional undercurrents, the lingering looks, and the tentative discussions about their respective romantic futures had evaporated. One brisk afternoon, the air sharp with winter's approach, Viola chased a difficult ball near the baseline and drilled a backhand down the line for a clean winner. Sean paused, breathing hard, retrieving the ball with a slow, appreciative grin. "That was a clean winner, V, really clean," he said with a grin, tossing her the ball. Viola brushed the sweat from her brow, her breath steady. "I'm just focused. No distractions." Sean leaned against the net post, bouncing the ball thoughtfully on his racket strings. "That's the difference. You used to play like you were trying to outrun something, V. Now you're just playing. You've learned to step into your own light." He tapped the ball back towards her, his eyes clear and acknowledging. "It's a good place to be." She simply nodded, catching the ball with the calm assurance of someone who had finally found her footing. The conversation was brief, the acknowledgement profound. Her growth was visible, even to the keen, protective eyes of an old admirer. Elias's R&D leadership team at the Sand Institute quickly became a power trio with the arrival of two former MIT peers, David and Nicole. David, an expert in IT architecture and AI modeling, had been the one Elias met at a sailing camp in the Netherlands, a fiery initial clash that had blossomed into a deep trusting friendship. He was now Elias's most valuable intellectual partner. "I can't believe we finally reunited here again, David, of all places," Elias said with a faint laugh, clapping David's shoulder. "Without the teenage drama." David shrugged, replying candidly, "Well, we were both aiming for the best gift back then, weren't we? At least now we only compete over algorithms, not affections. You're definitely less aggressive." "You were the one fighting, not me," Elias laughed, shaking his head. They could laugh about it now, the sharp edges of youth softened by time. The only difference was that for David, the memory of the girl was already fading, but for Elias, her image was a constellation fixed in his inner sky. Another new addition was Nicole, also a brilliant MIT alumna, joined as a systems engineer. She was a New York native, David's former classmate, and soon became an admirer of Elias. Nicole was genuine, passionate, and carried an effortless flair for both technology and style. David harbored a quiet love for her, but the impulsive teenager was gone. He was committed to earning her affection with patience and consistency. Nicole had been captivated by Elias the first time she saw him at campus. The quiet reserve in his posture, the thoughtful cadence of his voice, and those eyes, brilliant, sometimes melancholy, made her feel he was utterly unique. To Nicole, Elias was a lonely star, brilliant, distant, and unreachable. One night in the control lab, only Elias, David, and Nicole. Complex simulation code scrolled across screens. Elias pulled a small MIDI keyboard toward him. "Sorry guys," he murmured, a small distant smile. "Just de-stressing." His fingers began to move across the keys, playing a slow sweet melody he had once written for Viola, one that carried deep unmistakable longing. Nicole leaned forward in her chair, chin propped on her hand, utterly mesmerized not just by the beautiful music but by the absorbed remote look on Elias's face. To her, he was an island, beautiful and self-contained, shrouded in an alluring mist she longed to penetrate. David had long noticed Nicole's attraction to Elias. He watched her eyes, the same bright eyes he loved, follow Elias with a quiet intensity. Elias, meanwhile, remained oblivious, maintaining a polite professional distance. Seizing an opportunity when they were alone, David hesitated, fingers tracing the rim of his coffee cup, but finally told Nicole. "You know Elias is a great guy, Nicole, reliable, brilliant, talented. But I'm telling you, you'd be wasting your time trying to figure him out right now." His tone mixed gentle warning with genuine concern. Nicole raised an eyebrow. "Why? He seems perfectly fine to figure out. He's guarded maybe, but that's attractive." David sighed, opting for honesty. "Look, he's got history. Deep, complicated history. His heart still belongs to a girl named Viola, a girl from Germany, now in Switzerland. Trust me, he's not looking for anything new. David gathered his nerve for a direct plea. You, on the other hand, are here. You're fun, you're smart and charming, and you deserve someone who can give you their full attention. Maybe give the guy right here a chance. Nicole understood David's hint. She gently turned David down. Thanks, my friend, I'm not your girl. Trust me. Nicole didn't give up easily. She used collaboration as a quiet excuse to be near him. She would bring him coffee, compliment his understated dressing style, and even casually invite him to see art exhibitions on the weekend. I know this new exhibition just opened downtown. It's exactly your vibe. You should come with me, Elias. Just to de-stress. Elias always refused with his typical composure and politeness, his tone allowing no room for deeper inquiry or hope. That's very kind, Nicole, but I'm swamped with the Mars rover proposal this weekend. I appreciate the invitation. Nicole remained persistent, convinced she could breach the wall around Elias's heart. Actually, since Elias returned to the US, the projects on sand had kept their lab frantic. Elias poured all his energy into leading the team, diving deep into complex algorithms and code. Yet no matter how busy he was, he would often fall into deep contemplation in the dead of night, staring at his computer screen. He constantly missed Viola. He thought of her reading by the lake in St. Gallen, and the moment she wept vulnerable in his arms. He longed for any sign of her, a call, a photo, or a simple text. But since he made the difficult decision to leave the choice and time in Viola's hands, he hadn't received a single update. The void left by Javier in Professor Schmidt's team was filled by Matteo, a contemporary artist whose focus on digital installations brought a fresh, challenging perspective. Viola's role evolved beyond project coordinator. She became the crucial bridge, connecting the rigorous logic of commercial viability with the boundless, often sensitive, world of artistic expression. Matteo, passionate and fiercely protective of his vision, initially clashed with the budget constraints Viola had to enforce. But Viola, approaching the conflicts with a new grounding maturity, was no longer brittle. She learned to value the artist's integrity and the genesis of their creativity, engaging in sincere, deep dialogue rather than resorting to cold, hard numbers. Once, Matteo argued for light-sensitive installations that exceeded budget limits. Viola listened, calm and attentive. "Your idea has soul," she said. "But if we channel that into recycled materials, we can make it sustainable and affordable." For the first time, Matteo smiled. They had found a balance between art and reality, and Viola found her own authority. She realized that true commercial success lay in respecting and channeling, not dominating the artistic spirit. This balance, between artistic value and commercial demands, became her new signature. As the year drew to a close, the team successfully completed the major project milestones, receiving stellar reviews from the investment partners. A celebratory gathering was held to mark both the project's success and the approaching Christmas holiday. Amidst the cheer, Professor Schmidt raised a toast to Viola. "Viola, you have grown into the kind of professional this program was designed to create. Your ability to integrate creative and commercial perspectives is exceptional." He smiled warmly and continued, "After you graduate, I want you to stay. Join my team full-time by enrolling in the MBA program. We'll secure the scholarships to cover your tuition. Our sustainable jewelry project just received an extension for the coming new year, which means we can continue our work, and you'll receive a stipend. I sincerely hope you will consider staying." Professor Schmidt gazed at her with a sincere smile. Viola's heart swelled with gratitude and an empowering sense of purpose. "Professor," she said, her voice rich with sincerity. "Thank you so much. It would always be an honor. I would love to." In her heart, she knew this was the next essential step, a chapter dedicated to building expertise, experience, and the wisdom to navigate the commercial world. Christmas brought a joyful reunion as Viola's younger brother Leo arrived in Switzerland with his girlfriend Sophia. Leo, already a sharp, confident sophomore international business law student at the University of Mannheim, exuded maturity. Viola swelled with pride at the man he was becoming. Snow fell outside the window as carols drifted through the cafe. "You've really grown up, Leo," Viola said, smiling at her brother. "And Sophia's wonderful. You're a lucky guy." Leo chuckled. "Guess I learned from the best. How about you, V?" Her smile faded slightly. "Still figuring things out," she said softly. In the quiet warmth of a holiday evening, Leo, after being gently pressed, listened as Viola recounted the emotional whirlwind of her life, Javier, Lisa, and the quiet, profound presence of Elias. Viola's expression clouded with a familiar wistfulness when she spoke of Elias. Leo could hardly imagine how much Viola had experienced over the 4 years since that summer in Africa. So much had happened, challenging her, shaping her, refining her. She had changed completely, but only for the better. After a long silence, Leo reached across the table and enveloped her in a warm, protective embrace. It was the kind of hug only a brother could give, steady, wordless, and fiercely loyal. "You've been through a fire, V. And you've emerged stronger whole. I'm proud of you for finding yourself." He pulled back, his young eyes filled with an ancient wisdom. "Sometimes love is just there, under the surface, covered by the ice. It's not gone, it's just waiting for the right moment to breathe again." Just then, her phone chimed. It was Elias. Despite the relentless pace at Sand Institute, he never missed their brief scheduled check-ins in the special days. Beneath his words, unspoken emotions shimmered, and both of them felt the quiet longing that had always lingered between them. After the call, Elias held his glass and returned to their Christmas celebration with colleagues. Slumped into the sofa, Elias clinked with David and said, "I don't know David," Elias confessed, his voice low and strained as he rubbed his temples. "I gave her the space she needed, the chance to choose. But now I regret it. God, I regret it." He paused, a bitter laugh escaping him. "I should have fought for her. Maybe I was too cautious, too focused on being the safe choice instead of the passionate one." David leaned back, his gaze steady. "You did the honorable thing, Elias. You gave her space to figure things out, man. That's what adults do. You didn't corner her. If she needs you, she knows where to find you. But if you're only protecting yourself from the pain of fighting, your silent love wasn't a noble act, it was cowardice." Elias simply nodded, the self-mocking twist on his lips more pronounced. He had filled every minute of his life with work, burying his pain for Viola beneath layers of calm code and logic. Should I fight for it right now? Or wait for the right moment? I feel the connection so deeply. Does she feel it too? The connection thrummed softly between them, an unspoken current he could neither name nor seize. He wanted a voice to answer him, what he was meant to do with it. While at the Christmas party, Nicole overheard from David more about Elias's internship in Switzerland. She learned that Elias had flown all the way there, only to return to the US alone again. This sparked a new hope in Nicole, and she decided to gather her courage to formally confess her feelings to Elias. She took a deep breath, smoothed her dress, and walked toward Elias. But as her eyes met his, she stopped cold. On his phone screen glowed a single image, Viola's profile, lit by the faint reflection of the party lights. It was the only personal photo he set on the screen, which meant everything. Nicole saw the deep, suppressed yearning and the little sparkle of sweet in Elias's eyes, and she finally understood that even if she could gain Elias's presence, she would never gain his entirety. A corner of his soul was forever occupied by a distant person. Nicole's pride made her realize she couldn't compete with a perfect, painful memory. She conceded the fight. To be friends is enough, right? During the night, Nicole and David sat by the bar, their drinks reflecting the flickering lights. Under the influence of alcohol, Nicole bitterly talked about Elias's unattainability. He's a ghost, David. A brilliant, handsome ghost. He's orbiting Switzerland, not living here. Nicole downed a gulp of her drink, frustration and defeat heavy in her voice. David looked at her, his expression free of malice, holding only sincere understanding and care. You know, you've spent time, even years, being infatuated with his image, the genius, the musician, the guy who's too aloof to notice you. But you don't actually know Elias, Nicole. Not really. David's tone was calm but carried weight. What do you mean? I see him almost every day, Nicole retorted, defensive. David shook his head, placing his glass down and looking directly at her. Love isn't about being mesmerized by what's on the surface. Love is about walking into someone's actual life, understanding their flaws, and cherishing their quiet moments. Elias is quiet. He's driven by deep loyalties and old wounds. You haven't even scratched the surface of his life, so how can you compete with Viola, who is interwoven with his most profound memories? David's words were a splash of cold water, but also a flash of lightning, fully awakening Nicole. She suddenly realized she had only been obsessed with Elias's aura, never truly stepping into his complex, reserved world. Seeing the struggle and dawning realization in Nicole's eyes, David took a steady breath, knowing this was his one, crucial chance. He sincerely voiced his feelings again. David inhaled slowly, gathering his courage. I see you, Nicole. All of you, he said, voice steady but edged with vulnerability. The fun, the ambition, the passion. I know what makes you laugh, and what makes you storm out of a meeting. I want to walk into your real life, not your idea of perfection. David looked at her gently. Then stop chasing the light that doesn't see you. Look around, you're already shining. Nicole was shaken by David's sincerity and depth. She finally understood that true love was about appreciating the palpable, messy reality in front of her, not chasing a distant, glittering ideal. She looked up, her eyes filled with relief and gratitude. You're an idiot, David, Nicole laughed through her tears. Then, without hesitation, she leaned in. They kissed beneath the bar light. He had finally won his girl. Elias heard the good news and was genuinely happy for his two friends. He congratulated them sincerely. But when he returned to his silent apartment, the loneliness hit like a tidal weight. Standing by his window, he watched the lights blur into static constellations, his reflection faint in the glass. He missed the days in St. Gallen with Viola, even the nights spent on the sofa carried the warmth of home. And once you discover what home truly feels like, you can't help but long for it again and again. He often wondered, had the freedom he offered Viola become a shackle he wore alone? He wanted to break free from this shackle. But reality didn't allow him to linger too long on his private troubles. The data and images from the Mars Autonomous Exploration Project pointed to a major discovery, which kept the team working around the clock.